Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Mike, how long the Sporting News is one of the grandest? Is it still the only actual public or a sporting publication in because the SI is no longer SI?
Well, they are, I guess.
Well, but I mean, they are, but they're not. They've got all that split off thing that has nothing to do with Maven.
But they still have Sports Illustrated. I think they still publish a magazine too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so they're still out there. We are the oldest sports publication in America by far. I mean, Sports Illustrated is, I think, 70 to 80 years younger than we are, something like that. I mean, we date all the way back to the 1880s.
Oh, no. Golly, that's awesome. I knew that they were been around because I think Sports Illustrated came around in like the 60s or something, didn't they?
50s, yeah. Mid to late 50s, I believe it was.
Yeah. But yeah, the Sporting News, man, the Sporting News is if you watch a movie, these guys were working for the Sporting News back in the day. So fun stuff. When you see oh my gosh, Lou Gehrig giving his speech, the Sporting News was there to cover that.
Yes.
Sports Illustrated was not. And speaking of the Sporting News, the All-American, preseason All-American college team is out. Saw that yesterday, and it's got some pretty big names on it, of course. Kofi Coburn, right off the bat. This dude looks like he is 29 years old and has been in the NBA for 4 years already. What a beast he is. But he's also going to have a great running mate in Trent Frazier this year. So they've got I don't know how Illinois is not picked first or second in the Big Ten by anyone. And yet they have two of the best players
by anyone.
Well, did you pick them? I'm sorry. Did you pick? I didn't see
we had in our preseason top 25, we had Illinois number 3. I really like Purdue's team. I just worry about their shooting. Michigan, I love their team as well, but a lot of new faces, a lot of new bodies. I think they'll be really good, but Illinois, I think Illinois is being overlooked by a lot of people, which is surprising.
Oh, you have them number 3 in the country.
Yeah, we have them number 3 in the country, which obviously puts them number 1 in the Big Ten. But I was on to Andre Cabello early, and I thought I'd enter this season as the only one, like the only national analyst that was touting Cabello, and everybody that's going through there, John Rothstein, a bunch of others, are now like totally on the Andre Cabello train. I think he's a tremendous point guard. If he shoots 30% from three-point range, he'll flirt with All-America status. He's that great a passer. I don't know that he'll do that. I don't know that he won't, but he's got to do that to be truly great. And that's not a great number. It's just last year was 18%. You're not going to be the kind of player you need to be at that level, but we'll see. I think they've got a lot there. They've got a lot of questions too, but I think all of the best teams in the Big Ten have questions. But you start with Kofi Coburn, and I think you've got a lot going for you. And he was the foundation, I believe, of our All-America team. If we were doing a preseason player of the year, he probably would be it. And then we also had Drew Timme on from Gonzaga, who has been a preseason player of the year for a lot of people. Paolo Bancaro from Duke. What a terrific talent he is, a freshman who will really be special for the Blue Devils. Going to carry a lot of weight for them. We had Max Asmus from Oral Roberts. A lot, I was a little disappointed.
How about Oral Roberts? Oral Roberts, they ever had a first team All-American from anyone. It's amazing.
I don't think so.
See that.
They had a kid. I think they had a kid named Richie Fuqua back in the early 70s when I was just getting into hoops, who might have been their last superstar, but I don't think he ever made All-America. But I was a little disappointed in my competitors, the competition, for not. Max Asmus went into the NCAA tournament and tore up big time programs. Ohio State, Florida. Yeah, Florida was their second round. I mean, he put big numbers on great teams on the highest stage. You know what? I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's going to get first-team All-America if he comes back and leads the nation at 24.5 points a game like he did last year. But I think he'll do better. I think he'll average 26, 27 points. And I think Oral Roberts will be really good. And I just think that with what he did in that, he deserves that kind of recognition. So I was not going to leave him off that team. And certainly and I feel really good about the fact that he's on there.
I like to say Johnny Juzang.
And Johnny Juzang is the 5th member of that first team. Johnny tore up the NCAA tournament in a really impressive way. He's got to do that all year now. I mean, last year, first 2/3 of his year were just okay. They were fine. And I think the next step he has to take, he has to become a great 3-point shooter, or at least a really good one. Last year was, for a high scoring wing, was below average 3-point shooters. Got to take that step. But if he does, they'll be really hard to defend. And he'll score a lot of points for a terrific UCLA team. And want to mention one name for sure on the second team, which may be familiar to your fans.
That was coming up next.
Yes,
that was coming up next. I promise you. I just noticed. Yeah, Trayce Jackson-Davis, of course, from Indiana, on your second team. So gives Indiana folks something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago he was on our third team on a losing team. I can tell you that in my time being part of Sporting News, postseason All-America teams, I guarantee you, I've been there for 25 years. I guarantee you you could use less than one hand to count the players from losing teams that made any of our All-America teams, first, second, third team, in all that period. So
that's amazing.
He had a tremendous sophomore year. And I think that this year, he'll have a tremendous year on a winning team.
Yeah, he's so much more relaxed. Talking to him at Big Ten Media Days this year, all of them seem more relaxed. And I know that seems to be a rhythm I keep saying, but it's true, because anytime I'm around any of those guys, it is a much, much more relaxed environment. And that starts at the top, Kevin. I mean, and talking to Woody, when talking to him, he is calmness. Now, I'm sure that if he has reason, he can be a coach and become a volcano, but his normal state of being is calm. And you learn a lot more when you're calm, I guess, than in otherwise. But it is certainly a much more relaxed environment.
Well, and the interesting thing with Trayce, as we saw him in Big Ten Media Day, is just he looks bigger even than he did last year. And he talked a lot about his conditioning, and maybe that'll affect his ability on the glass and his ability to sustain late in games. I mean, there has been so much asked of him the last 2 years in terms of production. And you did see, I think last year, you kind of saw it late in games, kind of the weight and the pressure on his shoulders didn't perform well. Maybe that's the next step, with the strength and the conditioning that in the last 5 minutes of a big game, he'll be able to answer the bell, because really he is obviously has been in this 3-year stretch your most dynamic player, and you need your most dynamic players to perform well at the end of games and tight games in Big Ten play.
The other thing about that, Kevin, is that, and this goes to his future as well as his present, is that hopefully he's added enough to his away from the basket game. I don't want to necessarily call it perimeter, but even just being able to play up the line or into the short corners. Part of the reason he wore down last year was that he was in the low post almost the entire game, because that's what he had. Nobody could stop it, or very few could stop it. And that's all really he had to offer on offense, was that amazing ability in the low post. So he got banged on, worn on, and that's part of getting tired at the end. So if he's able to play away and become a difficult mismatch, fewer bodies on him. And then late in games when, we got to get a foul, we got to get a bucket. We want, we just want to, ride this out, or we need 2 points to get ahead. Then you put him down in the post. That ability that he has isn't going anywhere.